earlier today on First Take, Dan Orlovsky shared a list of his elite quarterbacks. And he had 9 elite quarterbacks on this list, which I will put on the screen right now. And as you can tell, Jordan Love is not one of those, which I do have a problem with. Now, if this list had been, 3 quarterbacks, 4 quarterbacks, I can understand leaving Jordan Love off at this point in his career. I understand why some people could be hesitant to take Jordan Love and put him in that upper echelon group of quarterbacks when he only has 1 year of play. I think that if you were to take the season that Jordan Love had and were to spread that out over the 3-4 years and the stats were the same and the production was the same, I think he would 100% be in that list. But sometimes people want to allow more time to pass to see more before they're able to, or before they want to put him into that elite list, which I understand. But when you look at this list from Dan Orlovsky, there is 9 quarterbacks on this list. And there are a few guys on here who I think Jordan Love should easily be over, which is why I'm slightly perplexed that Jordan Love isn't on this list. And so when you look at those players, guys who I could understand being here if Jordan Love wasn't here on this list, with him not being there, would be Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson, and Patrick Mahomes. Now, Aaron Rodgers is on this list by Orlovsky. And if we're just looking at this season, who you think is going to be elite, I think Rodgers could have a really good year. I just don't know if I would put put him on this list just because he's returning from the Achilles injury. He's also much older. And so I hope he has a really good season. I just think there's some question marks for Aaron Rodgers this year because of the state of his career and his health and those kinds of things. And so that's why I wouldn't maybe have him there on those top 5. But the fact that he had Brock Purdy on here and not Jordan Love, Justin Herbert on here and not Jordan Love, CJ Stroud on here and not Jordan Love, I take some issue with that fact. So let me tell you why I would take Jordan Love over some of these quarterbacks. Justin Herbert. Jordan Love already has a playoff win in his first year starting. Justin Herbert has 0 playoff wins in 4 years as a starter. It's a pretty simple case there. I think Justin Herbert is a very talented quarterback, but he has not had that much success. Now, it's not all his fault. His defenses haven't been great over the years. Brandon Staley ran the defense most of his time there, and that just went south pretty much every single season. And so it's not all his fault, but Jordan Love already more successful in the playoffs in his first season. Pretty simple. Now, Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy does have more playoff success than Jordan Love in, basically two seasons. But Brock Purdy does not have the elite athleticism as Jordan Love. And maybe you don't always need that. But in my quarterback, the quarterback that I would want to run my team, which luckily it is Jordan Love for me as a Packers fan, I would want them to have that ability to make some crazy plays. Not that Brock Purdy can't. I'm not saying that. But the type of plays that, Josh Allen can make, Aaron Rodgers can make, that not many people can make, Jordan Love has that ability, that capacity, and that's why I have him over Brock Purdy. And then another guy is Matthew Stafford. Now, I think Matthew Stafford, because of his, coming to Los Angeles with the Rams, winning that Super Bowl, it definitely put him in another tier in the public perception of Matthew Stafford. If he wouldn't have ever left Detroit, that probably wouldn't have happened. But you just look at last season. Jordan Love was better than Matthew Stafford last season in his first year starting. You look at Stafford's stats last year. It wasn't a bad season. It was a fine season for Matthew Stafford. 3,965 yards, 24 touchdowns, 11 interceptions, a 92.5 rating. Jordan Love, while having a really bad stretch of games, had a better year than Matthew Stafford. 4,159 yards. Stafford did play 15 games, so that partly factored into it. But Love had 32 touchdowns, 11 interceptions, a 96.1 rating. So all in all, Jordan Love had a better year than Matthew Stafford last year, which just in that simple point is, just from last year is why I'd take Jordan Love over Matthew Stafford. And I think Stafford's had a solid career, but I think that when you look at his time in Detroit, obviously Detroit struggled for a long time. But I added up Stafford's offenses every single season of him being in Detroit outside of his second season where he was, I think he was injured most of the year. And his scoring offense average was 17th in the NFL. So Stafford wasn't that good when he was in Detroit. He was a fine quarterback. He was pretty solid, but he wasn't an elite quarterback during his time in Detroit. He has a few good seasons of really top-tier production And then he has a lot of other really good seasons and some down seasons as well. But I think that in the span of Jordan Love's career, when you match it up with Matthew Stafford, I say Jordan Love is going to have a better career and is a better quarterback, more talented overall, in my opinion. And then for CJ Stroud, I honestly see CJ Stroud and Jordan Love in a similar light. They both made it to the playoffs, won a playoff game, lost the next one. They both had a really, really good first year starting. I wouldn't have that much of a problem, with CJ Stroud being right there with Jordan Love. I think they're both really, really good quarterbacks, but I don't see why you can put CJ Stroud on here and leave off Jordan Love. And then the final guy, which I already touched on a little, is Aaron Rodgers. And just at this stage of his career, I would take Jordan Love over him because of the concerns about his Achilles. Hopefully he comes back fine. He's older though, and so there's just some uncertainty there. And so that's why when you look at this elite quarterback list, when there's 9 guys on there, I do not think Jordan Love should be off that list. The Packers paid him, and he's now one of the highest paid quarterbacks in the NFL. Now, when it comes to that quarterback money, I don't think that you can just always look at where they're ranked when it comes to their per year average and say, okay, that means that they're a top whatever quarterback, just like Trevor Lawrence is getting the same amount of money per year as Joe Burrow and Jordan Love, and I do not think Trevor Lawrence is even in that conversation. So at times, teams have to make these decisions where, when you're deciding to pay your quarterback, you either have to pay up or you risk going back to not having a good quarterback. So I see why teams pay their quarterbacks, but I don't think that Trevor Lawrence should be in this conversation. But personally, that's sort of my thoughts on Dan Orlovsky's list. Let me know if you agree. Do you think that Jordan Love should be among those 9 quarterbacks? Are there any quarterbacks there that you think shouldn't be over Jordan Love? Guys that should be, let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. But if you want more Packers content, feel free to subscribe. You can also follow me on Twitter/X at LukeBeller3. And I also have a second NFL channel where I cover non-Packers topics, and you can click that link down below to check that one out. But that's all for today, and I'll see you guys next time.